Hey, what's good YouTube? My name's Gray, you're watching Consoletronix, where today we'll be casting our gaze back on a trilogy of titles from industry super heavyweights Namco, whose packed portfolio reads like the very history of video gaming itself. From Pac-Man, Dig Dug and Pole Position, to Tekken, the Tales of franchise, to those mental Taiken no Tatsujin drum games that I'm currently obsessed with. But before all that, Namco would, in 1986, release a platform shooter that would revolutionize the increasingly popular run and gun genre with Rolling Thunder. The golden age of the coin-op scene of the mid-1980s was as cutthroat and competitive as it was mesmerising in the eyes of the youth whose pocket money pumped into arcade machines across the nation would bankroll the industry's push to better graphics and more gimmicks. But at the tail end of 1986, veteran developers Namco, who had been involved with mechanical games since the 60s, would release the first Rolling Thunder cabinet in Japan, then internationally a few months later. And while run and gun style games like Green Beret had been knocking around for a while, Rolling Thunder just felt new. Now you could take cover behind scenery, jump to a different plane, out of danger, or to get the jump on the baddies. These subtle tweaks and precision required to complete the stages made Rolling Thunder a big hit. And while it would be a few years before a console port to the NES/Famicom appeared, British publishers US Gold wasted no time in ponying up the cash to get ports released on the European computer market. So let's check a couple out. First up is the Commodore 64 version, which, and let's be fair here, looks exactly like you imagined a Commodore 64 effort would look like. But how does it play? Well, it's functional, but its slow and plodding platforming will grate your nerves almost as much as the shitty soundtrack. Next up is the ZX Spectrum release, also developed by prolific Macclesfield-based 8 and 16-bit studio who produced all the computer ports, Teartex. And while it plays a lot faster and smoother than the 64 version, it looks like it was cobbled together on an Etch-a-Sketch. I would probably like this home version the most, but I'm playing it on the keyboard, and as we all know, that's for pussies. Just as the thought of playing a close to arcade perfect port on the 16-bit Commodore Amiga with its impressive graphic and sound capabilities began to warm me cockles, the realities of the business of gaming hit home with an audible thunk. Because then, like now, the publisher set the tone and demanded games on shelves quickly while quality could go hang. Slow, boring, repetitive, in fact, fuck US Gold and fuck the whole computer game scene. Let's do what kids in the 90s did and switch to consoles. Now, I avoided the unlicensed US Tengen release all these years as I just assumed, like with US Gold, it was a quick cash-in job trying to take advantage over the fact that Rolling Thunder was one of the most successful arcade games of 1987. But it's actually the Western release of an in-house Namco developed version and easily takes home the prize for Best Home Port. Be warned though, the difficulty is on chimney settings. In other words, it's through the bloody roof. 5 years is a long time in gaming, but in 1991 Namco would try to make lightning strike twice with the follow-up to one of their best loved titles, with the appropriately named Rolling Thunder 2. And while graphically it's fine, it lacks the oomph of the original, and gameplay wise it also sticks to its guns, with a strict no jumping and shooting or walking and shooting policy, which just feels like an incumbent weight. And speaking of the old ball and chain, we have a female protagonist, who's none other than the damsel in distress from part 1, having gone through a Sarah Connor T1 to T2 transformation. Old space adventure Cobra wannabe star of the first game, Albatross, is now playing second fiddle, as our dynamic duo have to once again take down series villain, the green-skinned Geldra. In my Splatterhouse retrospective, I touched upon Namco's falling out with Nintendo, and their refusal to adhere to Nintendo's strict exclusivity contracts, leading Namco to develop titles for their biggest domestic rival Sega, and opening the floodgates as Konami, Capcom and others would follow suit. And one of the first titles of note Namco would release on the Mega Drive/Genesis would be the solitary home port of Rolling Thunder 2. Pretty similar to the arcade in terms of graphics and gameplay, but unfortunately, that's not necessarily a good thing. At the time though, I remember the magazine reviews being glowing, but looking back, it doesn't compare to comparable run and gun games on the Mega Drive. And while I quite liked Rolling Thunder 2 despite its flaws, Rolling Thunder 3, a Mega Drive exclusive, or as far as I can tell a US Genesis exclusive, once more tramples the familiar ground established by its predecessors. So once again, no jumping and shooting, although to balance things out slightly, you can shoot diagonally. Series regulars Albatross and What's-Her-Face have to watch from the sidelines this time around as we're introduced to a new member of the Rolling Thunder squad, Jay. Not that you'll notice or care. While pretty playable, I can't help feeling that this was a real missed opportunity for Namco to really push the Mega Drive's hardware and experiment, or at the very least tinker with the game's mechanics, as it would be only a year after this game's release that Namco would really hit the big time once more with the release of Ridge Racer for Sony's maiden console, the PlayStation. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and what's your thoughts on Rolling Thunder, Namco or gaming in general? Let me know in the comment section down below. So my name's Gray, you've been watching Consoletronix, hopefully have lots more videos up very soon. So thank you all for watching, and until the next time, goodbye.